Well, it's lovely to come back down to Castletown to where, in some soon future, the Peggy will be back in place, right, Jonathan? I mean, this is the plan. You're doing all this PR stuff for us.
That's the intention. Peggy is due to be delivered back to the Nautical Museum into a brand new boat hall, which is in the location we're standing at the moment.
So this will be it here.
This is going to be the location of the new boat hall.
Interesting, because obviously when they took it out, it was under its place of, it had been for like hundreds of years or whatever, and that was quite cramped and everything. This is going to be a much more exciting opportunity.
Oh, it is, because we're going to be displaying a fully rigged, so the whole of the masts and the spars are going to be in place, which means that where we're standing will be a relatively tall building. We're designing the new boat hall, so it's tall at this end and it steps down to the street, Bridge Street up there, at much more of a domestic level.
Very exciting. I mean, for people who don't know the sort of relevance of Peggy, can you just give us an overview of why it's so important?
Why is Peggy so? Peggy is the first real racing boat, but the yacht. She's the grandmother of all the yachts that you see in the harbour today. It's the first with a sliding keel, and she was developed on the island by George Quayle. It's not Peggy that's just important, the whole of this site is important. The house at Bridge House was George Quayle's home. The stables behind us, which are now derelict, will become the new gallery, but they were part of the building. And George Quayle's hobby was the Peggy, and you've got his original cabin rooms in the far side, and all these are remnants of the early 1800s when he started to develop this space. And we're bringing the whole site back into full and proper use.
It's taken a little while. I think there's been a few hurdles on the way, no doubt, but the Peggy's in sort of good shape, isn't she?
The Peggy's been taken away, obviously, for conservation work. Chris Weeks has been working on her specifically, and when she was taken out, she was extremely wet. She's now been dried out, and she's in a holding facility with environmental control just outside Douglas. And the new boat hall, which we're putting in here, will have environmental control that's suitable to keep her in the state that she needs to be in for the next couple of 100 years.
You've had this presentation going on at the Commissioners. That's drawing quite a lot of interest, even when I ran this. I think it's over by the time this goes out, but has it sparked the interest of the public?
Yes, we're finding very positive responses from just about everybody we've spoken to about the new boat hall, specifically creating a new landmark building here on Castletown and basically for the island as well.
People have fought very hard to get it returned here, of course. It could have gone elsewhere, but this is the home of it, and that's important?
It's really important because what we have here is, as I said, it's the buildings, the stables, but also George Quayle's dock, which is outside and has been uncovered over the last 5 years with an archaeological dig. And we're rebuilding the sea gate as part of this project to the dock, not just to keep the water out of this complex, but also to give Manx National Heritage the control of the levels inside the dock, so it can be either empty, full, or rise and fall with the tides.
I know you're the architect side, and I can't really talk to you about the money side, but is it in place? I mean, it's always the thing, isn't it, to get the money, or are you still waiting for sign-offs, or do you not know much about that side of it?
Well, these presentations are part of raising the awareness of the project. Manx National Heritage have been fundraising for this project, and they've committed to raising 50% of the cost of it. And I know that they're well on the way to that in terms of pledges. But obviously, money needs a source, and I think the tin will need to show their support for this project. If it's anything like the support that we're getting from the locals that we've spoken to, I'm sure it will come.
Finally, a timeline for this, or is that still dependent on a few other things?
Timeline's always dependent on funding. If the money comes through and we can get that in place by the end of the year, we're looking to open the new facility at the beginning of December 2025.
Well, fingers crossed. Sometimes these things slip, but
sometimes they do.
As I say, this is going to be interesting. This is going to be such a... I mean, it has history written all over it even now, but once you got to work on it with your ideas, it's going to be quite something, is it? Yeah,
we have a whole team working on it. We've got a team of exhibition designers who've been looking at the interpretation of the nautical history of the whole island, the development of the RNLI on the site. All these stories, including the triangular trade, are going to be part of the new exhibition, which is part of the project.
And I suppose the mix of the old with the new, is that a tricky thing to get right? You know, to give people access and all the modern facilities, but at the same time preserving everything?
It's something we do quite a lot.
That's what you do.
It's one of the things that our company does.
Yeah.
Is put basically new buildings into historic environments. Yes, access is an issue. What we've overcome that by putting a new lift, which will actually go into the courtyard, so it doesn't affect the historic buildings, but it will also give access for the first time to the basement level where the Peggy was sitting, but also to the sail loft as well. So there'll be full access into those 3 levels, and you'll now, going forward, be able to see Peggy when she sits back in this space, not just from the fish's eye view at the underside of the keel and the close-up, which you can see in the boat cellar, but also from the waterline and from the crow's nest above, because the lift will go up to the upper level, so you'll be able to look down into the boat and see how she was built.
Okay, well, if you were a betting man, just remind me, when do you think this could be open? Next year? What's that, 24, 25?
If everything goes to plan,
Yeah.
the opening is December 2025.